It's the beginning of January. Let's refresh my bookshelves. I have been waiting to refresh my bookshelves for months now. I have been wanting to completely rearrange a ton of things. I'm wanting to put some books into storage. I wanted to create new Priority TBR shelves and physical TBR shelves. I have, clearly you can see books all over the floor right now. Things are a mess, and so I knew that I needed to wait until the new year so I could have a complete refresh. So this has been a long time coming and I'm so excited. The goals for today is to go through all the books I own, try to get rid of as many as I can, put as many books as I can into boxes that I know I'm not going to get to before I move out of this apartment in 6 months. I need to clean the shelves. I haven't dusted them since the last time I did a bookshelf refresh. I'd love to try to get rid of some of the like decor I have on the shelves, but I'm pretty attached to everything, so we'll see. And I'd love to finish by the time the sun goes down, but that's in like 3, maybe 4 hours, and based on past experiences, I know this takes me a long time. The sun's coming in and out, so I've been playing with the ISO, so I'm sorry if the camera goes really dark or really bright. Hopefully it gets more consistent, but it's a very cloudy day, so we'll see. Let's do a quick tour of what we're working with right now. Right here, I have some of the boxes that hopefully some books are going to get into. On the ground, I have some books that are on for sale from my Pango, which is that little pile, along with some Illumicrate things that I want to get rid of. This and this are all piles of books that I either bought in the last month or I took with me to my mom's apartment to try to read, and so they're no longer on the shelves. These 2 books are on my December TBR that I'm still working on. This box right here is filled with some of the higher priority books as well as sequels to books that are on my 2025 Priority TBR. And then I actually have 2 more boxes of books down here. A lot of them, these are like YA books that I just didn't want to put on the shelf because they're either old or they're just lower priority. And then those are a lot of cookbooks and travel books and vlog books that I want to like read once and then get rid of. These 2 shelves are my Rick Riordan Percy Jackson universe shelves. I'm really happy that I have 2 of them. This is the shelf dedicated to the Graceling series and Lord of the Rings. I don't know if I'll be able to keep that. These 3 shelves are like red fantasy. They're not in any particular order. This one I was like holding space for favorites, but then it ended up kind of being overflow for some of my Illumicrate books. This is my Priority TBR shelf. Those 2 are double stacked with my Fantasy TBR. Those are mostly fairy tale books, like traditional fairy tales. Ugh, let's get this out of here. Those are my traditional mythology books. These are my mythology retellings, Illumicrate books. These are my contemporary romance books. Most of these I've read and most of these I haven't read, but there's some of each on both shelves. This one started as like YA contemporary books that are on my physical TBR, but I also have some overflow books from my contemporary romance and some red books. This one's just kind of like an amalgamation at this point. This is Pride and Prejudice with some of my Regency romance TBR. This is my dystopian shelf with all the classic series. SJM shelf, that is a Harry Potter shelf. Both of these are completely filled mostly with mass paperback historical romances, but there's also some other stuff in there, like all my Eleanor Andrews books are in there, and some of my other authors that I collect that I have not read at all, so pretty much all of this is unread. And then here is where we straddle the line of like fiction and nonfiction. So I have a lot of writing books, poetry books, Sherlock Holmes books, my Peter Pan collection, memoirs, literary fiction, and like other fiction books, a few like crime books, and then down at the bottom I have all of my travel stuff, photography stuff, birding stuff, all of that. The problem is a lot of these books I'm going to be hesitant to get rid of because I know I want to read them, but I never reach for anything in this, like pretty much this whole shelf is untouched and like all of these things on the floor, so I think I need to be pretty real with myself. This is why I need this. This is why I need this. Okay, first things first is to get all the decor off the shelves and then to dust the very top of the bookshelves. And I have my CD player going over there, and today we are listening to the High School Musical 1 and 2 soundtracks. Okay, unfortunately that was the easy part. I think I might start on this end because I know a lot of these books are going to go into boxes, and that might make doing the rest of these shelves a little easier. But as I was going through all of this stuff, as I was pulling it off the shelves, I was like, oh, should I keep this? Should I keep this? And I literally am only going to get rid of 2 things. I told you I was attached to this stuff. second, I'm surrounded by piles of books because at some point in the process, I decided that I want to put more books into bins than I initially anticipated. I'm putting in a lot of the books that I'm not going to get to, like a lot of the Regency romance books and a lot of the nonfiction books that I know I want to keep but I haven't gotten to yet. But then I started going through and I was like, you know what? I'm not rereading Harry Potter this year. I can put all of those into the bin. Wait a minute, here are all my duplicate books and my large mythology books that I'm not going to read this year. I can put those into the bin. And so I very quickly filled up all 3 bins that I brought, and now I'm creating just piles of books that aren't fitting right now. So I'm gonna keep going, but I'm gonna have to go either tonight or tomorrow to go get more bins for my storage unit. And this is lovely because it's saving me from needing to pack them before I leave, but it's also like it's gonna feel really, really nice because I'm going to be able to have most things onto the shelves, and I might even only have the 1 bin of all the cookbooks that I need to go through, and that's gonna feel really nice. I'm gonna be able to see everything, and it's not gonna feel super cluttered. But I hate that I'm like separating myself from my books, because the entire time that I lived in my previous apartments, I didn't have access to all of them, and I hate that feeling. So my shelves aren't gonna feel representative anymore, but I'm just gonna have to get over it because I know I'm moving. And I know I said 6 months earlier, but it's actually more like 5 months, and this is better for me. This is better for everything, but I'm getting a little sad about it. Okay, we finished putting in the books. I had to make some concessions I'm not super happy about, but overall I think I am happy. I really didn't want to double stack them like I did before, but as you can see, I needed to. And it was even worse before. I had books like piled up right here like I did before, and I hate that look. So I ended up putting some like fantasy romance down here in the romance, and then some like more fiction-y down that way, which I don't love, but that's okay. I could just put more books into storage, into boxes, but then I don't know, I don't want to do that. That's okay, everything's fine. I will just keep moving forward. So books are good as they are. I was already going to unhaul these 3, so those were already going to be unhauled. We have a DNF, a book that I enjoy, but this is the ARC version, and it's not the story I read, and then a book I read but I did not enjoy. And then quite literally, out of everything else, these are the only 4 that I am unhauling. And this one, because I don't like the dots on it, I'm afraid of book mold. And then these 3 I'm just very unlikely to pick up. So these are literally the only unhauls out of all of that, which is bad because I really need to get rid of more books, but also good in the fact that like I was going through and I was like, no, I still really want to read this. So I don't know, that's a good thing, I guess. So even though the sun has definitely set, my bed is covered with all of the things that are on my shelves, so I need to put them back. But I also, like, as I was putting them onto the bed, I was like, no, I want to keep all of this. Like, I need to, as I place it back on the shelves, I need to be real with myself and try to get rid of some more, because this is bad. But also this entire area is just filled with books that are gonna go into storage. I lied. I got a new duster so I can dust off the books themselves and then dust off the things as I put them onto the bookshelves. That is everything back on the shelves. I don't know how, but it feels less cluttered than it did before, which honestly makes no sense because it's pretty much all the same stuff, which must mean that I did a good job. Oh, this is gonna fall. I'm probably gonna fiddle with it a little bit throughout the rest of the night and in the morning when I have daylight, but it's currently 6:53, so this did take me a couple of hours, but I will give you a full tour in the daylight tomorrow. Okay, it's the next day, and I actually touched the bookshelves very little last night and this morning because I actually really love the way they look in the light of day, and I'm so thrilled with them. So we're gonna do a scaled back tour of what the bookshelves look like, and then I'll bring the camera a little closer so you can see individual books. So starting over on this first bookshelf, I did move some things around. This remains to be a mass paperback. There are piles behind there, as well as some of my bigger Regency romance books that I did not put into storage. These are all ones that I could conceivably get to before I move out. I like to keep them as options, as well as all my Alona Andrew books. This is the rest of my historical romance section, including all my Pride and Prejudice, of course my prints. I moved the dystopian books into this shelf. I have my Sarah J Maas books down there. I also moved them over, and then down in that bottom one, you can see all of the like non-fiction leaning books. So I have my memoirs down there, my writing books, my classics, my poetry books, as well as a few overflow from fantasy section. And then this bin right here is all of my cookbooks and photography books that I want to go through before I move out. So this should all be gone by the time I move out. And then that pile right there are the books that I currently have up for sale on my Pango. I now have 2 dedicated YA bookshelves. These are half books that I have read and half books that are on my TBR. Previously, most of these books were in boxes on the ground, so being able to see them is actually really exciting for me. This is mostly Cassandra Clare books, as well as the Leigh Bardugo books I have. I'm really hoping to read both of them in their entirety this year. And I did move over. This is now my mythology retelling section, which is heavily Greek. And then down below, I actually combined most of my mythology books, so not necessarily like novel style retelling, usually the actual stories, as well as a ton of like other collections, and the rest of them I did put into storage units. So all my really pretty Barnes & Noble books, those are all going into boxes because I'm not going to read them in 6 months. And now we moved up the Illumicrate shelf, so now it is here with an overflow up here that goes into my Lord of the Rings shelf. I have a couple books here that aren't Illumicrate, like these 2 are both from Waterstones and this one's from Barnes & Noble, because I have a couple that are over there. But these 3 are now entirely contemporary romance, and I really love the way they turn out. They're so colorful. I love having them in the middle of my shelves like that. There are a couple romantasy books on there that were overflow, but it's okay. But this is entirely by author last name, so TBR and Already Read are in here. But this middle shelf is only B.K. Boriston, Ali Hazelwood, and Emily Henry, because I had so many of them and I wanted to make sure they stayed together. So otherwise it is alphabetized. These 2 shelves are my Percy Jackson shelves. I originally had these over that way and I didn't really like the way that looked. And then these 4 shelves are all red or mostly red of my fantasy. These ones I pulled out some of my favorite fantasy books just so I wanted them front and center. This is where I ended up putting Graceling. I think they fit in really well right here. I'm sad they can't have their own shelf, but that's okay. And then these 3 are pretty much the rest of my mostly read, but if they had an author and I've read like most of their books, then their unread books go along here. But this is all red-ish, which means that these bottom 4 are all of my TBR books. So this is my Priority TBR from here onwards. These are the books that I put in my 25 in 2026 that I wanted to read. And the rest of these are books that I'm going to be reading pretty soon in reading vlogs. Down here aren't on any lists. Some of them are kind of sequels to books up here, but they're like the books that I'm most likely to pick off of my own from the rest of this TBR. And then these two shelves down here are double stacked, so there are books behind them. The entire back row there are indie books that I got at the events I went to this year, and I'd love to read as many of them as possible. But the rest of them, a lot of them are adults, some of them are romantasy, some are fantasy, some I got at Waterstones, some of them I got in little free libraries, or some YA in here. It's really just a collection of everything. The back down there are most of my hardcovers that I have not yet read. And so the idea is once I read one of these books, they move up to the red shelves, and I'm not entirely sure how that's gonna happen because they're pretty full. They're pretty full. So that's the general overview. Let's take a closer look. Back over in this corner bookshelf, all my Regency romance and mass paperback books, including some of my prized prints that I absolutely adore, my dystopian books, and yeah, the Warrior Cats series is back there. I'm just including it in that because I want to reread them. SJM books, and then again, the books I'm going to sell on Pango, the recipe and photography books that I want to get rid of after I read them real quick, and then the rest of my nonfiction or nonfiction leaning books down there. My two YA shelves, some read, some unread, Cassie Clare and Lee Bardugo, mythology retellings, mythology and fairy tale books, Illumicrate books, and Lord of the Rings books. My three shelves of contemporary romance, A through P, the three major authors, and R through W. My two Percy Jackson shelves, featuring, of course, probably my most prized possessions, surrounded mostly by my fantasy books that I have read, including this favorite shelf featuring a 3D printed Toothless that my uncle made for me. And then three more shelves of books that I have mostly read and really enjoy. And then my four fantasy TBR shelves. Priority TBR and TBRs for future vlogs. TBR books that I will likely get to sooner rather than later. The first of my double stack shelves, and the second. So now that these shelves are done and looking pretty and I've gotten a lot of books out of my room, I now finally have a nice backdrop so that I can do the rest of my videos. I have a lot of like 2025 recap videos that I want to film over the next couple of days. And they'll be the content for the next couple of weeks because I want to talk about all the books that I read last year. One of those videos will probably be about all the books on my physical TBR, even though now a lot of them are in boxes. So it won't be like a full comprehensive video, but you'll still get a closer look at all the books that I have to go even slower than what I just did there. Let me know what you think and if I should make any adjustments or if there's any books on my physical TBR that you're like, yeah, read those next. But I am so happy. I think in total this took me 5 or 6 hours and it was entirely worth it. It just feels more representative of me where I am right now, and I cannot even wait for my next bookshelves. We've already planned it out. I am so excited. So as much fun I had making this video, I'm gonna have even more fun setting up the next set of bookshelves. That will be, I'm hoping, by the end of this year, but the timeline for moving in is a little not set. But I'm gonna make the most of having all these books looking at me while I can before I move into my car and put everything into boxes. So enjoy many, many, many more videos of me reading these books and filming in front of them. Thank you so much for watching this whole journey, and I'll see you in the next video.